Hello friends, it's Miss Rebecca with the Shaler North Hills Library, back for some more The One and Only Bob by Katherine Applegate. Last time was the first time we were reading The One and Only Bob, and we read up until page 39. Now it's not quite broken up into chapters, but little sections, so we're just going to introduce each new reading by what page we left off on, and therefore which page we're going to pick back up on, okay? Here we go, friends. Page 40. On the poetry of stink. Of course, not everybody can smell what I'm smelling. My nose is a zillion times more powerful than a human's. Dogs are experts at odor, students of stink. We analyze the air the way humans read poetry, searching for invisible truths. And we don't just smell the good and bad stuff that people notice with their substandard schnozzes. The usual suspects, popcorn and lilacs and freshly sharpened pencils, diapers and Brussels sprouts and freaked out skunks. Now, our noses got it all, the whole shimmery double rainbow in April. Humans, they're lucky to get a cloudy day in November. We get that molecule of roast beef dancing on the wind 50 miles from the tidy kitchen where it just slid out of the oven. We get the cherry lollipop under the back seat of the Honda 16 cars deep on the highway at rush hour. We get things humans can't even dream of getting. We're the ones who find the miracle earthquake baby cuddled in her crib under tons of rubble. We're the ones who find lost hikers in the wilderness after a quick whiff of a sweaty sock. We can even tell when someone's sick. We can smell seizures and cancer and migraine headaches. Try getting your guinea pig to do that. We smell feelings too. Sad has a sharp scent with an undertone of sweetness. Sad smells like being lost in a winter forest as the sun goes down. And happy, happy is the best. But there's a touch of wistfulness around the edges. Happy smells like bacon ice cream served up in an expensive leather shoe. You're gonna love every minute of it, but you know it won't last forever. The news. Sometimes when Julie and I go for walks, I'll break at a corner. Corners are the best for fresh news. And she'll tug and say, "Come on, Bob, there's nothing there." Oh, but there is. Here's the thing about poop and pee. I get that humans are not into them. I see the bathroom door shut tight, the embarrassed, downcast gazes. You guys are totally missing out. There's a whole lot of info hiding in your average pee mail. When dogs want to share the latest gossip, we just wait until nature calls. You'd be amazed what we can learn during a quick bathroom break. People read the news, check the TV, browse the web. I linger over a fire hydrant and inhale the whole wide world. My ears, by the way, are almost as remarkable as my nose. I pick up on all kinds of things humans can't hear. What we do with our noses and our ears is kind of like taking a big old knot and loosening it up, separating out the strands, unbraiding things. People smell a reeking pile of trash in a dumpster. We smell a dollop of cream cheese, a hint of peanut butter, a smattering of Fruit Loops. People hear the roar of a crowd in a stadium. We hear a strain of whiny 4-year-old, a whisper of worried superfan, a note of grumpy hot dog vendor. Man, dogs are cool. Snickers. While I watch from my perch on the back of the couch, Julia passes by on the sidewalk. George asked her to keep her dog walking route close to home, in case the weather changes. She's wearing a shiny purple raincoat leading 3 dogs, a goofy mutt named Winston, a timid dachshund named Oscar Mayer, and her, Snickers, an old nemesis of mine. Snickers is a fluffy white poodle with delusions of grandeur, a big, snooty pain in the puffball. Ooh, that pooch drives me crazy. Our mutual dislike goes back to my early days as a stray. Snickers was a fancy, pampered, sleep on a pink satin pillow kind of gal. Her owner, Mac, ran the mall where I lived with Ivan and Ruby. That's where I first encountered Snickers. She teased me mercilessly, and beneath the fuzzy facade, I always suspected there was a little, I don't know, spark there. Anyways, after the mall closed down, Snickers, being Snickers, landed on her feet. Mac married an older widow lady with more money than sense, and she dotes on that ridiculous poodle. Mac's too lazy to walk Snickers himself, so he hired Julia to do it. "Looking good, Snick baby," I call through the open window, and she gives me her curled-lipped, squinty-eyed face, which, come to think of it, is pretty much how she always looks. As usual, Snickers is dressed to the max. She's wearing a pink poncho, a sparkly rain hat, and teensy pink boots. "Those boots were made for mocking," I added for good measure. Feels good giving her some grief. But before I can really relish the moment, another annoying acquaintance of mine appears. Nutwit. Nutwit, the gray squirrel who lives in the live oak in our front lawn, jumps to a lower branch, looking at me with barely concealed pity. I hate pity, especially the barely concealed kind. "I don't know why you taunt her," he says. "You're hardly in a position to talk, Bob. You are Snickers. Come over here to the window and say that. So you can what? Drool me to death?" "Are you aware that my best friend is a gorilla?" I ask. "You would make fantastic ape chow, dude." Nutwit reaches for a dangling acorn and yanks it free. "I thought gorillas were vegetarians." "Ivan eats termites," I say. "He might make an exception for you. Face it, Bob, you're soft. You're one step away from your own pink rain boots." "He has a point," says Minnie, one of the family's guinea pigs from her cage next to the TV. "No, he doesn't," says Moo, her cage mate. "Yes, he does," Minnie squeaks. "Doesn't, does, doesn't, does, doesn't, does." Minnie pauses. "Wait, you tricked me." The guinea pigs rarely agree on anything. Nutwit leaps over to the window ledge, acorn in paw. He presses his tiny, twitchy nose to the screen. "You couldn't last a day out here, Bob. Some of us have to live by our wits. Hey, I lived on the street longer than you've been alive." Nutwit nibbles his acorn. He's quite the prissy eater. "Whatever you say, Bob." I say scram. "Fine, hint taken. Anyway, storm's en route. I should be stocking up on my nut stash while I can." Nutwit gives me a wise guy look. "That's how we do it in the real world." He scampers off with an acrobatic flourish. Squirrels never do a simple jump when a quadruple backflip cartwheel is an option. "You're full of it," I say to nobody in particular. "We're full of it," says Minnie. "Yes, we're extremely full of it," says Moo, and they popcorn in agreement. Guinea pigs hop up and down when they're happy. It's called popcorning, and it's totally ridiculous. "You're happy? Wag your tail like a real mammal." "I'm not soft," I mutter, nosing my protruding belly. I leap with effort off the couch. Then I head to the bathroom for a good long drink from the water bowl of power. Spoiled. I know Nutwit has a point. I've become a creature of habit, spoiled after a stretch of being my own dog. For a long time, I was Bob the Beast, cunning and streetwise. As a stray, I lived off leftovers at the mall while Snickers dined on her fancy pants kibble. Man, how I loved that cotton candy stuck to the floor. The unexpected UFOs. The ends of ketchup-covered hot dogs scattered under the bleachers like, I don't know, big toes or something. Ivan offered to share his gorilla food with me, and Stella and Ruby were always ready to pass along a carrot or an apple. But I refused. I needed to stay in shape, stay tough, stay true to my wild nature. Okay, so maybe every now and then I'd sneak a banana chunk from Ivan's breakfast. But then things changed. I became civilized, domesticated, a pet. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely some perks. Julia, who's an artist, painted my name on a food bowl. She gave me this wonderfully mushy blanket, the kind where you can bed boogie forever till it's squished to perfection, and you can curl up just so. I love that blanket. but I simply cannot sleep without Knot Tag, Ivan's raggedy old toy gorilla. Of course, just when I get my blanket and Knot Tag imprinted with the right amount of Edu Bob, Julia's mom does the unthinkable, puts them in the washing machine and removes every last bit of me. There are other indignities I tolerate. The daily walk on a tug-of-war string after going stringless my whole life. The attempts to train me, like that'll ever happen. The kisses and cuddling. Well, the cuddling's okay, I suppose. But the kissing, I just don't get. If you want to kiss your dog, why not just give him a big old lick on the face and be done with it? Anyways, so what if I've gotten a little spoiled, a tad soft around the edges? There's a difference between being soft and being afraid, being a coward. Another confession. Too bad I know the truth. I'm both. Cricket bowling. When Julia returns from walking her charges, I race over and give her a big old Bob-style hello. Lots of yipping and twirling, followed by some attempts to jump into her arms. Humans love that stuff. Julia looks at me sternly and says, "Robert, down." I leap some more because I'm determined to convince her I'm incorrigible, untrainable. It's part of my charm, my bobliness. "Down," she says again. From her coat pocket, she pulls out her little metal clicker, along with some treats. I hate that clicker. It's meant to help train me, but it's like a cricket bully. Here's the theory. I do something right. Julia clicks, gives me a treat. The clicks tell me when I'm behaving, and the treats reinforce it. If that happens enough before your very eyes, I'm supposed to transform into a good dog. Well, I ain't that easy. "Down, Bob," Julie tries again. I want a treat, but not enough to cave, so I opt for a play bow, a compromise. Julia sighs. "You are definitely a challenging student." To my annoyance, she puts the treats back in her pocket. I think Julia may be on to me. Trust. A while ago, Julia got it into her head that I needed to improve my manners. We went to a dog training class. I wasn't really into the whole sit and stay and do the tango stuff. The worst command of all, the truly inexcusable, only a human could come up with an order: leave it. Leave it means, "Walk on by, Bob. Sure, there's a piece of bacon just inches from your drooling pie hole, but do me a favor and just pretend it's not there, okay?" Not okay. Where I come from, you never pass up a free meal. UFO drops to the carpet, it's mine, and I'll be chowing it down before you can say, "Where the heck is my meatball?" Within minutes, I was accused of being an unmotivated student, which is totally fine. I am highly motivated. Just sew me some cheese, please. Anyway, I may or may not have been a little unruly. Class clown stuff, tail spinning, a little random ping, some zoomies, just for show. "Class, you see that crazy dashing around he's doing?" said the teacher, pointing at me with an accusing finger. "We call that FRAP, frantic random activity period." She pulled Julia aside. "He's a smart dog," she said, "but he's messing with you." Which was true, but I hated getting caught in the act. I thought it was more subtle. "Bob needs to know who's boss," said the teacher. "He needs to see you as pack leader. Give him some time. I see this with a lot of former strays. Takes them a while to trust people." Like forever in my case. As we left the class early, I yelled, "So long, suckers," to my classmates. Couldn't help rubbing it in just a little. My car thing. I suppose the real reason for the training stuff isn't my bad manners, although they leave a bit to be desired. It's my car thing. I've always had a hang-up about cars and trucks, also riding lawnmowers, go-karts, anything with 4 wheels, an engine, and a driver. Don't like them, don't want to ride in them, don't want anything to do with them. Those co-pilot dogs with their heads hanging out the window, flying their drool flags, boneheads. First of all, it ain't safe. And second of all, bad stuff can happen after you climb into a car. Take it from me. When Julie and George and Sarah realized I have transportation issues, they tried to lure me into the back seat of their car with treats. but you'd be surprised how stubborn I can be. I yelped so loud, the neighbors came running out to see what was happening to the poor little doggie. Score one for the poor little doggie. Click. That's when they started clicker training me. Click, here's a treat. Come closer to the car, Bob. Click, here's a treat. Watch while I open the car door, Bob. Click, here's a treat. Come right up to the seat, Bob. Click, here's a treat. Come on in, Bob. Bob? Bob! Where are you, Bob? Yeah, it was like that a lot. Options. Still haven't been in a car, or truck, or tractor for that matter. When I've got to go to the Rhymes with Pet Threat, Julie and her parents walk me there. They say elephants have long memories. Well, so do dogs, people. It's not like I'm afraid, I'm just exercising my options. Full wag. Are you ready to head over to the park? George asks as he passes through the living room. He's carrying 2 flashlights and a roll of masking tape. Yep, Julia says, and I do a little head tilt to show I'm intrigued by the conversation. The place where Ivan and Ruby live is called Wild World Zoological Park and Sanctuary, but everybody just calls it the park. George works at the park as head groundskeeper, which means I've got some sway, and everyone who's employed there loves Julia. Give me a minute, just need to grab my coat. Straight home after, though, Julia, says Sarah, just in case the weather gets worse. 1 minute the weatherman's saying we're going to have a little shower, the next it's the storm of the century. Julia scratches my head. I thought Hurricane Gus wasn't coming till tomorrow. Sometimes they change course, says Sarah. They can be unpredictable. You know, says George with a wink, in the old days they only named hurricanes after women. Julia groans. Oh, that's so sexist. It's not just the wind I'm worried about on this one, George says. It's the storm surge that could be a problem, flooding. Julia tries to make me wear her mom's latest creation, a knitted dog sweater with security written on it, which I suppose is an ironic reference to my petite size. I politely decline. All right, you win, Julia says. Ready for your walk, Bob? At the mention of the word walk, I go all crazy mutt, so it's clear I'm on board with the idea. Humans love it when we get silly. I think they're so weighed down by people problems that sometimes they need to be reminded what happy looks like. Julie attaches my string. I try for a little tug of war, but she refuses to buy it. Let's go see Ivan and Ruby, she says. Just hearing those names sends my tail into full wag. Good words, bad words. I've never met a dog who didn't get a big old grin on his kisser when walk slipped into a conversation. Dogs understand more than you might think. The Nature Channel says we're about as smart as the average human toddler. 2-year-olds, my fuzzy rump, were a million times brainier than some babbling rugrat. There was a dog on that man's best friend show supposedly understood like 1,000 human words. Border collie, I think. Those guys need to switch to decaf. The narrator was gushing about this wonder dog, and I'm like, well, duh, Brainiac. Of course we understand people. Not everything, mind you. And some of us are more attentive than others. Depends a lot on just how interesting your humans happen to be. Certain words will really cause our ears to perk up. The classics: treat, walk, frisbee, bacon. And don't forget the swear words: vet, bath, fireworks, vacuum cleaner. We always hear those. Clock versus moon. Julie and I wait by the front door while George says goodbye to Sarah. I think maybe the hardest thing for me about being domesticated, a pet if you insist, is that I can't control my own schedule. If I had my way, I'd hang out with Ivan and Ruby all day, every day. Unfortunately, humans love their clocks. Dogs, we use the sky to tell time, like any sensible creature. Sky says it's dawn, time to eat. It's noon, time to eat. It's afternoon, time to eat. It's dusk, time to eat. It's midnight, time to eat. Point is, it's always time to eat. Dogs have a thing for the moon, too, like wolves and coyotes and our other relatives. No calendars for us. Moon looks like a claw. Moon looks like a half a pancake. Moon looks like a tennis ball. Moon looks like a claw again. A chunk of time has passed. But humans? Nope, that's not enough. It's not a chunk, it's a month. It's not just dawn, it's 6:32 a.m. on a Thursday. And boy, oh boy, we'd better hurry up and go to school or the office or change the baby. But who gives a woof about feeding the poor, starving, sad-eyed, grumbling tummy dog? After a spell, I got used to the comings and goings of Julia and her mom and dad, but it keeps changing. Julia leaves early for school and is gone most of the day. She returns home excited and energized, good sense mostly. But every now and then, she comes back smelling a little like me after a visit to the dog trainer, battle-weary and ready to crawl under the covers. Sarah, who is pretty sick for a while, is feeling fine again, thank goodness. But she went back to work, and she's away all day too. And George, who has a job at Ivan's place, works 5, sometimes 6 days a week. That means it's just me and the guinea pigs a lot of the time. I have a doggy door and outside run, but it's not the same as touring the neighborhood with your person. Peeing without a potential audience is like talking to yourself. Sometimes I'm the teensiest bit jealous of Ivan and Ruby. They always have someone around, which is crazy. I know, I'm free and they're not, but there it is. Told you I'm not a saint. The shelter. I know our route to Ivan and Ruby by heart, and I can't help tugging a bit, even though I'm not supposed to. It's been a couple days since I've seen my pals, and I need my friend fix like I need air and water and belly rubs. We don't live far, down the end of the street, round a corner, good news source there, then a few more blocks. When I walk Julia, well, okay, I suppose it looks like she's walking me, but I beg to differ. There's a place we pass that always makes me jumpy and bummed. It's the animal shelter, and I know it's a good place, a space for pets who don't have a safe home of their own. When I was abandoned on the highway, just a few weeks old, a nice cage with a soft towel in it and a bowl of fresh water, well, I would have given just about anything for that. Still, when I walk by and hear all those desperate barks and meows and squeaks, it gets to me. Sometimes having great hearing is a pain. Thing is, I realize I have a home and the gang in there doesn't, and I try not to think about stuff like that, you know? I mean, it's not like I can do anything about their tough breaks, right? And in fairness, maybe those animals aren't like me. I've always been a resilient, hard-working sort. Maybe some of those guys even made their own bad luck. Don't get me wrong, I try to be a nice guy. I do what I can to make the world a better place, sure. Chat with the guinea pigs, lick the strawberry jelly off Julia's hand, do my wagon dance when the rents come home to make them feel good. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. But it's like I said before, you gotta look out for numero uno. Guess that's why the shelter harshes my mellow. It's just, I'd rather not have to hear those guys every time I walk by. Makes me sad. Reminds me of the bad old days. Julius. I knew this guy back when I hung out at the mall with Ivan and Ruby. Nice dog named Julius. Basic mutt, maybe some lab and golden in there somewhere. He'd done some hard time at a couple shelters. One of those dogs you knew had seen more than his fair share of bad stuff the world could throw your way. One ear bitten off, scars, a limp. Julius lived in his backyard. Winter, spring, summer, fall. Chained up mostly. Flies on his food, empty water bowl way too often. Still, he always had a nice word to say when I'd pass him on my daily rounds, checking out the neighborhood trash cans. Once I saw his owner, again that word, step onto the back porch. Julius was barking, but he had a good reason. A stranger had just passed by. Barking is what we're supposed to do in that circumstance, right? Maybe he's the UPS guy. Maybe he's a serial killer. I mean, come on, we're not the FBI. So anyways, owner came out. Big guy, mean looking. Gave Julius a hard kick with his boot. Yelled, "Shut up, you fool!" Disappeared. Julius looked at me, kind of embarrassed. We kept talking. A few minutes later, the owner came out again, put some towels on the line. Julius headed over, tail between his legs, cowering, saying, "I'm sorry, I love you, I'm yours, yours, yours," with his whole dog being. Guy completely ignored him, headed back inside. "Oh, he's having a tough time," said Julius when the guy was gone. He's a jerk, I said, because subtlety is not my strong point. No, he loves me, he does. He has a funny way of showing it. Human, said Julius, licking a sore on his leg. You know how they can be. Do I ever? But we gotta stay true. Love 'em. Forgive 'em. I thought about that. Thought about it a lot. Why, though? I finally asked. Why do we have to forgive them? Julius looked shocked, then confused, as if I just asked why cheese tastes good. It just does. That's the way it is, he said. That's what we do, Bob. I started to reply, but I managed to hold my tongue, which is not easy for me. It's a very long tongue with a mind of its own. There was no point in making Julius feel worse than he already did. Later that morning, I found half a turkey sandwich, gave the whole thing to him. Well, okay, I had to taste first, but still. Forgiveness. Seems like forgiving humans is one of those doggy things we're all supposed to do, like having zoomies or being bed boogies. It's written in our canine souls. Well, somehow I didn't get the memo, the one that apparently went out to every other dog on the planet about forgiveness. Why should I forgive the humans who tossed me and my siblings out into the night? When you forgive, you lose your anger. And when you lose your anger, you get weak. And when you're weak, you can get hurt all over again. The art of human watching. By the time we reach the park, the sky's definitely in a bad mood. Gray clouds galloping like panicked horses. The nervous scent of rain on the way, the kind that makes you antsy in your own skin. When we get near the employee entrance, I hop into Julia's backpack, just like always. We enter through the special gate where George shows his ID, checks in, and says hi to the staff. Pet dogs aren't allowed at the park, Natch. Foxes, wolves, jackals, my dog cousins, they are. But in my opinion, even though they're technically part of my extended family, they're nothing like dogs. Only dogs have perfected the art of human watching. Smartest thing we ever did was figure out how important the human gaze is. So often when we follow our owner's eyes, we're rewarded with something amazing. A smelly sock, a glazed donut that's fallen on a smelly sock. We follow every blink, every sidelong glance. We see it, whatever it is, before humans do. We understand it before they do. And if there's a glazed donut involved, we eat it before they do. My friends, that's another part of The One and Only Bob by Katherine Applegate today. See you next time, my friends. Have a good one.